Well, hello, motherfuckers, and welcome to the first episode of something that I am calling Violence Casual. Today we are going to be talking about UFC Fight Night, Royval VS Kape. Uh, when I played back my audio on my test, it sounded weird, a little echoey, so I apologize. I'm going to get that figured out. But moving on, what we do here is we talk about fights, we talk about betting, we talk about fights and betting. What we're going to do here is we're going to start at the very first fight of the night and we're going to work our way all the way up to the main event here. So, I'll be honest with you. I don't know who the fuck this is. Who the fuck is this? I don't know who either one of these people are. Teresa Bleda versus Jamie Lynn Horth. So, um, let's take a look at some recent fights here. I'm looking at decisions. I'm looking at, about 50-50 wins and losses. This is a Canadian woman. This is a flyweight fighter. And we got going up against someone from Czechia. Is that... Holy shit, man. Is that what they call the Czech Republic now? All right, I'm gonna move on from there. I don't want to come off too retarded on the first episode. I'm sure I will, and it's probably gonna only get more retarded from here. But what we're looking at is a couple of KOs, a armbar submission. Actually, one KO loss. And that was against Natalia Silva, who's very good. That was in 2022. Okay, so I'm sure we're learning about these fighters together. But I'm going with Teresa here just based on what I've seen from recent fights. Only loss being to a great fighter in Natalia Silva. And she's got some finishes here, not just decisions, which is what the other fighter looked like. It was just decisions. And lost, I think, 3 of the 2. So, yeah, we're definitely riding with Teresa on this one. There are no betting odds available, it doesn't look like. I'm not sure if there are none available for any of these fights yet. Let me look at something more prevalent. I don't see them on ESPN, but you know what? They actually may have recently removed odds from ESPN because of the whole thing with ESPN Bet and that huge, thing with the FBI. So let's try um, Teresa Bleda. Teresa Bleda. Odds. We might have to do this. Okay. So Teresa Bleda is a huge favorite against Jamie Lynn. I would like to see odds for. Let's see. Let's use FanDuel. Yeah, let's use FanDuel. Okay. So method of victory, I'm gonna take Teresa Bleda by KO at 850. I'm gonna take her by KO at 850. I don't know. I don't know either of these fighters, so take that with a grain of salt. Um, and I'll be honest with you, this is another fight right here where I do not know either one of these fighters. It looks like Guilherme Pa is a debutant because he doesn't have a picture there. Alan Fry Jr. Is an American. This is a heavyweight fight, and Alan Fry Jr. is on a tear. These are what look like regionals though, so we will take that with a grain of salt here. Let's look at Guilherme Pat. A lot of KOs, a recent decision, 5-0 versus 6-0. These are also regionals, although LFA gets a lot of cred. LFA has recently turned, Poetan, O'Malley, I could name more. LFA has recently turned out a lot of, those are both champions, but they've turned out a lot of great fighters. All right, so now we're getting into fighters that I actually know about. So Luana Santos. Let's talk about her for a second. Let's talk about Luana Santos for a second. So she's 25. I'm pretty much 25. I just turned 26 not that long ago. She is very beautiful. Great martial artist. I like to think of myself as a decent one myself. So, I think we would be a great couple. That's a power couple right there. Let's see if we can look at what a pretty woman. Okay, so so Melissa Croden, I actually watched her last fight live. I believe she actually knocked her opponent out. Actually, with a TKO. I shouldn't say she knocked her out, but it was a TKO, and it came at the very end of a crazy back and forth. Actually, no, she dominated the whole time. It was not a crazy back and forth fight. I apologize. She dominated the whole time. I actually had money on her, on the opponent to, I had money on her to win by decision, excuse me. And they stopped the fight with just a few seconds left. Yeah, Croden won. Croden looks dangerous, man. Let me take a look at the odds here, but really, my heart says Luana Santos, my brain says Melissa Croden. Let's take a look at the Luana's recent fights here. Actually, I might actually go back to Melissa's as well because I didn't really look at them too much. Just sort of thinking about the money that I lost on her last fight. So yeah, she is coming off of a win by sub. She has a couple recent subs and a TKO. Decision. These are all UFC fights. I'm not sure who this is, so I don't know how to judge that loss. Let's go back to Croden real quick. I want to go through all of these in depth, and I'll probably chop it up and do some short form, shorts, reels, TikTok, whatever as well. Okay. Is this who I think it is? No. I thought that was, for some reason, I thought it said there's someone named Alice Eldine or something like that. Fuck, I'm terrible with names, but she's pretty good. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything I'm too impressed with. I mean, these are some LFA fights. Let's move on from this fight after I look at the odds. Jeez. Okay, let me see if I can actually just go. Where's UFC? Where's UFC? MMA. Okay, this is what I was looking for. Perfect. So, Melissa Croden is an underdog, actually, against Luana Santos. Okay. As dangerous as Croden did look in that fight, my heart said Santos, so I'm sticking with Santos. I'm going to say Santos by sub, and that is plus 500. I like that. So, Santos by sub. Now, Sean Sharoff. I think this is the guy they call Titties. Or was it? Yeah, I think this is the guy they call Titties. He's funny, man. And he is the one who was saying he'd suck Dana's toes in the last fight. I like this guy. Or after his last fight. Or is it the other guy? Oh, it's Steven Asplund. That's the one they call Titties. Yeah, of course. Look at that. Yeah. So I apologize. Steven Asplund is the funny one. I am rooting for him here. I don't know shit about Sean Sharoff, to be honest with you. He's coming off of a KO loss to Justin Tafa. That tells me all I need to know. We're going to go with Titties here. I'm not even going to look at the rest of Sharoff's fights and try to judge them. Okay. LFA fights. One fight on the Contender Series. I'm going with Titties, man. He's a big favorite. The odds, the money line don't mean everything, but I'm going with Titties, man. I'm gonna go with Titties by KO. Actually, I mean that's not a great value pick, but I'm going with Titties by KO. Alright, so now we got Neil Magny versus Yaroslav Amosov from the Ukraine. I don't speak Ukrainian or whatever, so that's the best pronunciation I can give that there. Neil Magny, I'm very familiar with Neil Magny. I've watched a lot of Neil Magny's fights. I believe he's coming off of a KO loss to Carlos Prates. No, he's not. He's fought a couple of times since then. Okay, I get Neil Magny and the other one confused. Neil Magny and Geoff Neal. Geoff Neal. But he lost to Morales and Prates, and they both knocked him out, which is doesn't really say too much because they knock everybody out. He actually got knocked out by Mike Mallow, though, who pretty good fighter. I'm not gonna lie. I think that says a lot more than these. Neil Magny might be on the way out. I mean, even winning 3 of his last 5, he's I think 38. Okay, let's check out this other guy because I'll be honest with you, I don't know much about him. The younger fighter usually wins. He is 4-5 in his last 5, but he's coming from Bellator. And get this shit out of here. He's coming from Bellator, and his last fight in Bellator was a knockout to the champion. Let's check out the odds. Ooh, yeah, Neil Magny, big underdog. Younger fighter. I think Neil Magny's on the way out. I don't think it's going to be a knockout here. I'm going with Yaroslav by decision here, which is going to be plus 190. Yeah. I'm going to take him by decision here. Submission could be a more valuable pick, but I don't know. Neil Magny's got good jiu-jitsu. He's been around for a while, man. Yeah, we're going Yaroslav by decision. Okay. Moving on. I'll be real with you. Don't really know much about either of these guys. It looks like we got a debutant who is 2-2. Joe Anderson Brito. Man, another show was called Violence Casual, but I'm coming off as a super casual right now, not even knowing a lot of these guys. This guy's had a few UFC fights. He's coming off of 2 losses, one to Pat Sabatini. He's got a recent knockout. He's got 3 finishes recently, actually. 2 knockouts with a sub, 1 knockout being a doctor stoppage, but losing his last 2 to a split and unanimous decision. Pat Sabatini pretty good, man. I don't know this guy too much, so I don't know how to judge this loss, but it was a split. Interesting. Okay. Here, let's go back and actually check out Isaac Thompson's last few fights. Okay, so his professional career has solely been in the LFA. He's 2-2, 1 KO win, 1 KO loss, 2 decisions, 1 win, 1 loss. The loss being a split. I don't know his opponents much. Man. Alright, I'm going with Joe Anderson Brito here. Let's take a look at the odds. Where's that fight? Okay. I might have to look him up. That's weird. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm not gonna chop this up, man. Maybe one day I'll start chopping up my videos, but I'm just gonna go unscripted and run the whole time off the top, and you know, when hiccups happen. That's just how I'm gonna do it for a while. But I'll probably, do some short form clips and whatnot. But yeah. Joe Anderson, Joe Anderson Burrito. I'm getting distracted here, man. It's the first episode. All right? But I'm getting distracted here. Okay, Joe Anderson Burrito odds. Joe Anderson Burrito versus, okay. Decent sized favorite. I like to see some prop odds. Why is it not? Okay. It's showing up on FanDuel here. FanDuel doing me dirty, man. That's why I like DraftKings. Okay, well, we don't get prop odds. We're just seeing money line. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, we're gonna go with Joe Anderson Brito. We're gonna move on. Okay. I know both of these fighters very well. Jillian Robertson is a monster for a female fighter. No disrespect to the female fighters, but she is one of the few that I get excited for her fights. She's a monster. Couple knockouts recently. Um, oh, come on, bro. How you gonna do that to me? How you gonna do that to me? Did my Google Chrome just crash? That's fucked up, man. That's really fucked up. Now where's my screen? I gotta bring my screen back. Okay, I actually might have to do a chop here because my screen disappeared. Ah, no, okay. Uh, well, I might chop out the little bit. I might chop out that little bit there, but we'll see. I don't really give a fuck, actually. I'm not chopping it out. Deal with it. You can fast forward a little bit. Okay. Well, yeah. Jillian Robertson's a monster. Amanda Lemos is also, very tenured UFC fighter, very experienced, very well rounded. Um, I'm going with Jillian Robertson. I'm gonna look at Amanda Lemos' recent fights though, but I'm going with Jillian Robertson. Oh man, I'm going with Jillian Robertson by KO. Let's take a look at Amanda Lemos' recent fights though, but I'm going with Jillian Robertson by KO. A loss to Tatiana Suarez. That doesn't say too much negatively because Tatiana Suarez is an incredible wrestler, one of the greatest wrestlers in the history of the UFC women's divisions, in my opinion. Lucindo, Jandaroba. That doesn't say too much either because Jandaroba is pretty dangerous. She did beat Mackenzie Dern though, who is the current champion. Lost to Shang Wai Li. That doesn't say too much. Also, one of the greatest, just women's fighters. Period. Uh, I'm sticking with Jillian Robertson by KO. All right, so to the main card. Now, this fight actually just recently got announced. Just recently got added to the card, and it's a pleasant surprise. Let's say that. I mean, it's a pleasant surprise. I'm happy that this fight got added to the card. Although the odds don't seem to be on here. We might have to. Yeah, it just got announced a few days ago, so we're gonna have to figure out the odds for this one elsewhere. But we got Bobby King Green against Lance Gibson Jr., who I believe is from Federal Way, Washington. A little about me if you don't know me. I'm from Portland, Oregon. The Pacific Northwest is near and dear to my heart, so I'm very happy that this man is making his debut in the UFC. Let's take a look at his recent fights, although they are... Bellator. Okay, this looks like a regional, but he did fight in Bellator. I'm not sure what happened if he got dropped from Bellator, but his last fight in Bellator was a KO loss, but he since came back with a KO win and a submission, and what I'm assuming is a regional, maybe Washington regional. Because, yeah, like I said, man's from Federal Way. And he is, of course, fighting Bobby King Green, as we just mentioned. Oh, man. I love Bobby Green, but he looked great. He looked vintage against Jim Miller at UFC 300, but... And he looked great against Jalen Turner before he got knocked down. Oh, man, that was a hard one to watch, though. Um, Yeah, we all know what happened there with the late stoppage there and just getting battered on the ground by Jalen Green and not really defending himself, getting hit in the back of the head a lot too. That was a hard one to watch, man. But the fight against Grant Dawson won me a decent amount of bread. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had a bet on him as a huge underdog, and he came out and just knocked Fool out in like 13 seconds, I want to say. But yeah, moving on. We are not going with Bobby Green on this one. I gotta try to find these odds, but I just don't think they're gonna exist. Actually, let's try this. Bobby Green odds. Bobby Green odds versus Gibson. Bobby Green versus Lance Gibson odds. Excuse me. Okay, so these are just odds for money line. It looks like I'm not gonna try too hard to find. I'm not gonna try too hard to find the prop odds here. I apologize. Maybe I'll throw it in the description or comment section. Comment section. The description or the caption of wherever I may post the short form version of this. But yeah, I'm not going to try too hard to find the odds for the props here. It looks like Bobby Green, though, is actually a pretty decent sized favorite. And I love Bobby Green, man. My heart says Bobby Green, but I think Lance Gibson Jr. finishes in Bobby Green's 39, my boy. Okay. So I'll be honest with you, not too familiar with these guys. I do know Kennedy and Chichikwu. I do know he's one of the guys who Walter Walker has heel hooked recently on his. Or no, wait a second. Did he? Is he one or was he a pullout? Oh yeah, okay, he was, but he lost to Chris Barnett in 2024. Oh man. Okay. Oh, he beat Chris. Ugh, dude, okay. I told you I was gonna be mad retarded, and it was only gonna get worse. He beat Chris Barnett, so okay, that's cool. That's cool. Chris Barnett's a blob. I love Chris Barnett, but he had a highlight, and that was it. He had a highlight, and that was it. He's a blob. Um, but yes, he was one of the guys who was in the midst of Walter Walker's heel hook tear. So I don't know how much that really says about his last fight because Walter Walker is fucking insane, and I believe he's subbed four people in a row by a heel hook. I don't think it had ever been done twice in the UFC. But let's take a look at these guys' fights here. Um, it looks like he made his UFC debut after being brought over from one championship. Lost to Boudet, who's pretty. I don't know how skillful the man is, but this is heavyweight, but he is pretty dangerous, man. I want to say he had a crazy knockout in one of his last fights. Let me fact check myself real quick. Maybe not, but I'm pretty sure this one here on the Whitaker card was a pretty sick fight. Okay, let's take a look at the odds here, because like I said, I don't really know too much about Marcus Whitaker. I really don't. Excuse me for the delay here. Bro, my retarded ass just be doing fucking accents and shit. This is a terrible fucking. This is a terrible first episode. It's probably only gonna get worse from here, but okay. So it looks like Nchuku is actually a slight favorite. I'm taking Kennedy by KO at plus 155. Let's move on. Fuck the heavyweight division, just for the record. Fuck the heavyweight division. Something worth mentioning, actually, I'm jumping back a little bit. Something worth mentioning is the King Green and Lance Gibson Jr. fight is a catch weight. I think that they both are fighting on short notice. Not sure what weight class they're going to be fighting in, but I believe King Green usually fights at lightweight. Okay, so I actually did see Melchizedek Costa. That sounded French, not Brazilian. Melchizedek Costa at UFC Seattle, which, by the way, absolutely amazing experience. If you've never been to a UFC fight, I highly recommend it. One of the best, actually. I want to say it was the highest grossing UFC fight night event ever, I think, or the largest gate or something like that for a fight night. But man, it was finish after finish after finish after finish. Very disappointing main event. I went to initially see Rob Font and Curtis Blades, but unfortunately Curtis Blades pulled out. Rob Font did get a win against, I believe, an undefeated debut, and Rob Font, I believe, is the only fighter out of Puerto Rico in the history of the UFC. I might be wrong about that, but I'm half Puerto Rican, so Rob Font is my guy. But yeah, I believe he got a finish at UFC Seattle. I want to say it was a submission. And I want to say it was against Andre Fili. Yeah. Submission against Andre Fili at UFC Cejudo versus Song. He's now got 2 unanimous decisions in a row. He's kind of on a tear in the UFC. Looks like he got knocked out. Let's actually take a look at it some more here. He's got knocked out once and subbed once in the UFC. Otherwise undefeated. And I like what I've seen of this guy. I watched his 2 most recent fights on ESPN, and I watched his last or his. I watched his fight against Andre Fili in person, and I really like what I see of this guy, man. He's a great fighter, very well rounded. I mean, I would say he leans toward his ground game, but he's very well rounded. And he is going up against Morgan Charcuterie. Charcuterie. How would you say that as a French person? Charcuterie. Charcuterie. And that was terrible French accent. My accents are. Not only are they just like corny, but they might be a little racist, man. Okay. So he's coming off of of a knockout against Nate the Train Landwehr. Um, that really doesn't say too much. That guy's a 50-50 fighter, if you know what in my opinion, if you know what I mean. Like, one night he's gonna be killer, one night he's gonna look like a bum. Any given fight, you don't know what you're getting out of that guy. So I don't know how much that really says. A loss to Wood, unanimous decision. Wood's really damn good, man. Um, let's check out the odds. Uh, okay, so it's a pick 'em. It looks like Morgan Charrier is actually a slight favorite, but it's a pick 'em. Their submission odds are actually dead even. I think I'm leaning toward Mezokizl. I can't pronounce either one of these guys' names, bro. That's bad. But I'm taking Costa by submission. I'll be honest, that's a little bit of a heart pick just because I saw him in person. And I like what I've seen his last few fights. Don't know nothing about this guy, I'll be honest. So now we got Cesare Olejniczuk. Oh my god, I can't pronounce anyone's names. But this is one of the fighting nerds. You know, the fighting nerds gym. It's got a lot of killers, man. Significant strike accuracy is at 100%. Did he just make his debut recently? I know his brother Michael's been around for a while, but okay, yeah, his last fight was actually on the Contender Series, so this would be his UFC debut. He's on a 4 knockout streak. One of them being a championship fight in a regional. Cesar Almeida, pretty well-rounded fighter. As you can see, he's got a submit. That's a submission loss. Excuse me. But he's got a few KOs in his last few fights. He lost to Roman Kopylov, who's great. Um, yeah. Ooh. This is a tough one to call. You know, from what I've seen in the UFC, I've seen some decent wrestling, defense, and jiu-jitsu from Almeida. But it looks like he is listed as a kickboxer and has no submission wins, just knockouts. Oh, man. Let's check out the odds on this one. I want to go with the Fighting Nerds guy, but my brain is telling me Cesar Almeida. He's an underdog. Hold on, how old is this fool? 37? I could see Cesar Almeida winning by knockout. It looks like that's typically how he gets his wins. His knockout odds are plus 440. Man. You know what? I'm taking Fighting Nerds, man, by knockout. I was gonna say, I could see Cesar Almeida knocking him out, or our Fighting Nerds boy getting a submission. I've seen, yeah, it looks like that's kind of what he started off. Oh, that's a loss, sorry. But he's got a few submission wins here. I haven't seen much of him. Like I said, I know his brother, and I know his brother's had a few submission wins recently. But yeah, last fight was on the Contender Series. This is a hard one for me to pick, but I'm sticking with my Fighting Nerds boy by knockout. Now, Giga Chikidze, Chikidze. I know a lot about him. I've seen a lot of his recent fights. Looks like he's coming off of a couple of losses. One of them being to Arnold Allen, it's great. One of them being to Calvin Kattar, who was great, even especially in 2022. Dude, I'm so stupid. I keep seeing these being I just confused the fuck out of myself. I don't know if I was recognizing those as losses or if I was recognizing those as wins. But like I said, it's just gonna keep getting more and more retarded. But okay, a loss to David Onama, a loss to Arnold Allen, and a loss to Calvin Kattar doesn't say too much because those are all great fighters. A win against Edson Barbosa by knockout in 2021 says a decent amount because that's a great fighter and a great striker, and he knocked him out. Kevin Vallejos, I don't know too much about him, but I have seen him fight recently. He is the much younger fighter here, and he's coming off of 3 KO and 1 decision in his last 4 fights, a submission. These two here look like regionals, but the Contender Series and then a couple UFC opponents. Oh man, I'm going with Kevin Vallejos. I'm going with Kevin Vallejos. He's a big favorite. Okay. You know what? I think Giga Chikidze, even though he has had a lot of losses recently, I want to say he's got to be the bigger, taller guy. Yeah. I think with him being pretty good striker, I think he's going to be able to keep Kevin Vallejos at bay for most of the fight, but I still think that Kevin is probably going to take him down, control him. I think he might even be able to get inside and win some striking exchanges, but I think Chikidze is going to make it a fight. I think it'll go the distance. I'm going with Vallejos by points, Vallejos by decision, and that'll be plus 150. That's the co-main event. Damn, man. Decent enough with the King Green fight. I mean, I always get excited for Jillian Robertson. Shit, man. Decent enough card, but damn, that's not great. But here we are, the main event. I'm a big fan of both of these guys. I'd gotta say, I gotta say, I'm a bigger fan of Manel Kape. His fighting style is very exciting. He is a fucking batshit crazy character. Absolutely love him. Brandon Royval is a pretty funny guy. Very exciting fighting style as well. He likes to stand up and brawl. And Manel Kape, I wouldn't necessarily say is a brawler, but he likes to stand up and style on you a bit, man. He likes to get in there and get dirty. All right. So I know he's coming off of a couple of knockouts here. I was watching this one live for sure. This Silva fight, is it Bruno Silva? Yeah, Bruno Silva. That was an amazing fight, man. He was styling on him. He was fucking styling on him. Get this shit out of here, bro. This is not an Amazon commercial. But this is such a tough one to call. It's going to take me a little while to kind of analyze things here. So we're looking at Brandon Royval, whose last fight was a loss, a unanimous decision to the current champion, Joshua Van. And I don't know how to judge that fight because Joshua Van is the current champion, but he is the current champion because of I don't know if you'd call it a fluke, but a mistake with Alexander Pantoja being lifted and landing with his arm extended and breaking his arm within the first minute of the fight. Not a lot of punches were thrown. It wasn't really a fight he necessarily won, but more or less a fight that he was luckily given due to an injury. So I don't really know how to judge that. He did beat Tatsuro Taira, which was a split decision that I want to say I've actually thought Taira won, but I'm also a really big fan of Tatsuro Taira. He just beat Brandon Moreno, lost to Alexander Pantoja in a pretty good fight. Oh, man. Really tough one to call. Let's take a look at the odds, but I'll tell you, before I even look at the odds, I'm leaning towards Manel Kape. Okay, he's a huge favorite for some reason. I'm a big fan of Manel Kape. You know what, Brandon Royval has a motherfucking chin. He really does. He's a dog. He's super tough. He's got a motherfucking chin. Oh man, they got Manel Kape by KO at 140. I was about to make a ballsy pick and say Manel Kape by knockout, but they got him at 140. I feel like that's a trap. You know, I want to believe that there's some integrity in sports and gambling and everything like that, but yeah, you know, it's got to be a little. It's corrupt. It's corrupt. So when I see lines like this, you know, I feel like it's a trap. I'm gonna go with Manel Kape by KO still. I can't read into the odds too much. Yeah, I'm gonna go Manel Kape by KO. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. Manel Kape by points at plus 240 versus Manel Kape by KO at plus 140. I try not to think about value too much in my picks and just really pick things based on what I think is genuinely gonna happen. But yeah, man, Manel Kape by decision against Brandon Royval, who's got a fucking crazy chin at plus 240. I'm going to take Manel Kape by decision. So, that's the last fight on the card. It's the main event and it's the last fight on the card. Let's just go through our money line picks here real quick. Shit, I might even forget who I picked some of these early fights, to be honest with you, but I'm pretty sure I took Teresa Bleda here. I don't remember who the fuck I picked in this one. Oh yeah, I picked Alan Fry. Yeah, he's on a tear. I picked Luana Santos. I picked Titties. I think I picked Yaroslav. I did. I picked Did I pick Brito? Yeah, Did I pick Brito? Let me go back. Let me go back here, because I'm pretty sure I picked this one after looking at the odds, because I don't know those motherfuckers. Well, don't look at my search history, okay? Don't look at my search history. Are they even in here? Were they one of the fights where I couldn't find their odds, or am I overlooking it? Okay. Yeah, they're just not on here. I'm not gonna dig for those right now because I'm just trying to recap my picks. I think I went with Joe Anderson Brito. I definitely went with Jillian Robertson. Pretty sure I picked Lance Gibson Jr. here. Oh fuck, dude, I don't remember who I picked. And this is the worst first episode ever, but I'm just rolling with it. Ooh, okay. Let me look at the odds on this one. That might actually remind me. Is that not on here either, though? Or is this on the main card? Oh, yeah, that's on the main card. My fault. Okay. My fault. Oh, yeah, I remember I went with Kennedy Nzechukwu. Yep. I think. I said Costa. I stuck with my Fighting Nerds boy. I said Kevin Vallejos and Manal Kape. Jesus. All right. Well, yeah, this is the first episode of something that I'm calling Violence Casual. I'm gonna continue doing breakdowns of most UFC cards, unless they're like absolute boring fight nights with no names. I'm gonna probably do a breakdown of every single one, so expect me to do some weekly content. I always come back and I talk about my picks after the fact, and what went wrong, what went right, some outlook for the future of the fighters that won, and in the championship fights or big fights, sometimes even the fighters that lost. Probably come on here and do some videos talking about, you know what, I'm actually going to do a video soon talking about all of the fights that recently got announced. But yeah, I'll be talking about announcements, big new stuff like that. But that is it for the first episode of Violence Casual, motherfuckers.